Hey, Joe Delia here with Nancy Salvia, the Mayor Pro-Tem of Rochester. And happy to talk with you. We had a lot of off-camera banter about the city and our mutual love for it. And so explain to everybody, what does Mayor Pro-Tem mean?
Joe, that's a great question, because that's the question I get first and foremost. I like to explain that, I'm not the mayor. So what Mayor Pro-Tem means is that I'm the vice president. So, the mayor of Rochester gets to handle all the tough problems, and I get to be Mayor Pro-Tem or vice president and fill in whenever he needs me to, but happy to be here and talk with you about Rochester.
Awesome. And so this is a full-time gig for you, or what does that look like?
It's a hobby.
Okay.
So in the city of Rochester, everyone on city council has a real job, a full-time job. And so I view it as a hobby, or really, you could probably say it's public service. We're there to serve, we're there to help. We do get a little stipend, but it's not a full-time job, unlike some of the surrounding communities.
Got it. And so what is one of the reasons you decided you wanted to get into essentially volunteering for the city?
Right. So, I've always loved serving in many different capacities and love Rochester, and frankly, someone kind of challenged me.
Interesting.
Someone said, hey, Nancy, what do you think about being on city council? And I hadn't really ever thought about that, but when I played it back in my mind, I was on student government in high school, and you're kind of wired the way you're wired.
Right.
And I thought, if I did that back then, maybe I would like that. And I kind of had to work through some of the fears of campaigning and putting yourself out there politically. Sure. But I'm really glad someone challenged me to say, why not?
That's amazing. So Rochester is roughly how big in size?
3.8 square miles.
3.8 square miles. So
we're small.
It's a small city, but a dense, not overly dense,
no.
But it does have a lot of population that sits inside it. So what are some of the things within that 3.8 miles that you think separate Rochester and make it special? Yeah,
Rochester is a special place. We are a small town with a big time charm, and it's the people and that charm where we're really a community that cares about each other. We're compassionate. We love our history. And so, some of the real practical things on how that plays out are our parks, our walkability, we have a full-time police, full-time fire department. All of those resources are there dedicated. But to me, it kind of keeps circling back to that charm. We're not cold, we're welcoming, it's warm. You walk downtown, you say hi,
yeah.
You're gonna see someone it's just a great place to be.
I love all the history of downtown. So you're walking past and you see a cistern, where it's right there and you can look down into it and you're like, wait a minute, like what was this thing for? And it's got the sign right next to it.
Right.
Or all the history of, what now has the Mills Brew Company in it, Rochester Mills Brew Company, but how was the knitting and they made gloves. We have it all in our actual video, so check out the video of Rochester.
Right.
But how they made all the gloves for World War, and all the women came in and they ran that big knitting factory and all the material that came out of it. I think there's so much history, yet at the same time, the restaurants and the vibe and the rest of it doesn't feel overly old. It feels very welcoming. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, you're right. It's that balance that we kind of don't want to forget our history, but we want to be current. We want to be fun, contemporary, and enjoy everything.
And it feels to me like it has, despite being a city that was the first founded city in Oakland County, despite that, it also has, I shouldn't say despite because that would almost phrase it as negative, but in addition to that, it has that Rochester Park being in downtown. There is, at any given time you walk down there is so much young kid screaming energy, all over the place.
Very true.
And I know my son loves going there and playing, and you get from the people who are bird watching to the 5 and 7 and 10-year-olds running around chasing each other at the same spot, which is pretty cool.
So true.
Yeah, I love it. So explain to me what you do full time.
So full-time, I'm a Merrill Lynch financial advisor, so I basically help people with their money, their investments and planning.
Cool. That's amazing. So how do you see your ability, your full-time job benefiting the city of Rochester?
Yeah, so I serve on our finance and our budget committee. And so all of my skills, I didn't talk about this, but before being a Merrill Lynch financial advisor, I worked at Chrysler. So I was
Okay.
an executive at Chrysler, so I know big company dynamics, which really the population of Chrysler is the same size as Rochester. So I understood those dynamics.
Interesting.
So understand that and then put that into a financial planning perspective. Understand balance sheets, markets, economy, interest rates, which really affect the business, if you will, of the city. I mean, government is not business, but yet we have to run it effectively because we're responsible for those tax dollars.
Right. Absolutely. So you mentioned tax dollars, and we talked about this a little off camera. I remember going back to State of the City, essentially. Is that what it's called, State of the City?
Yeah.
Hey, I nailed it. State of the City, a handful of years, and you said you haven't done it the last couple of years for obvious reasons. And the city was very well funded. Can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, the city is strong financially. We are considered a AAA bond rated. So what that means is we are the highest quality of a municipality as rated by a third-party rating agency.
Wow, that's
so we're
fantastic.
strong. We have a strong balance sheet, but we still have, I'll say, opportunities or challenges, how you want to look at it, because we are small.
Sure.
And we're pretty much built out. It's not like we
Yeah.
have a lot of other land to develop. So we're kind of think of it as like a retiree on a fixed budget.
Sure.
And yet we're dealing with inflationary problems.
Yeah. And you and I were talking off camera about what happens every time a house sells. Can you explain a little bit about that?
So this is something that I just wish every resident could understand, because it's taken me a while even to wrap my head around it. So there's something in Michigan called the Headley Act, which limits the amount of property taxes, what the rate of increase can be. So for someone who's been living in their home in Rochester for 20, 30 years, their property taxes can't go up. It's limited by Headley.
Yeah.
So the way the city gets increased revenue is when that property sells and it's uncapped.
Yeah.
So even though improvements have happened in homes, those revenues haven't come to the city at the same rate maybe that you might think.
Yep, that makes a ton of sense. One of the things we do as realtors is a lot of people will go and look at houses and they'll say, oh, I want to go see this one because its taxes are lower. And I'll say, what their taxes are completely irrelevant to what your taxes are going to be, right? Because of exactly what you said, that uncaps and then comes in the taxes now match today's assessed value, which isn't always sale price, but it's pretty close, right? So it comes up to today's assessed value times whatever the mill rate that's going to apply based on whatever city, right? And so whatever their taxes are completely irrelevant to what your taxes are going to be. So never shop by what current taxes are in any given property, because they're frankly completely irrelevant for what it would be for you as you purchase.
That's such a smart point. And, kind of tied into that too is you have to know what those tax dollars buy you as a property owner.
Yeah.
So in Rochester, our model is we include a lot of services in that property tax number. We don't tack on a charge for trash removal. We don't tack on a charge for police or fire. We don't tack on a charge for the library. It's all included in that property tax dollar.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned on a lot of the amenities of living in Rochester. So what would you say some of the things that, if you're a home buyer and you're considering Rochester or other cities, if you were to, what would you say some of the main reasons someone should pick Rochester are?
Yeah, so if you read through our latest community survey, people love Rochester because it's walkable, because of that great public safety, police, fire, response times. That's actually lower insurance rates too, so that saves you money. Our parks, our trails, all of the community charm. So Community House, Dinosaur Hill, OPC, all of those partners that just work together that make you just want to live in Rochester because you can walk or ride your bike to all of those.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see, and how the Clinton River ties right through the city and all the things that kind of surround that. And then in addition, for people who don't know, because the Clinton River, the parks off it, everything that runs off that is pretty cool. And then also the old, what's it called? Its name escapes me, but the old railroad that takes you all the way from Rochester and connects to the coast to coast.
The rails to trails.
Yeah,
rails to trails.
That's the term. Yes. That's super fascinating. I think that's
I
really.
tell people I can get on my bike in my driveway, and I could probably bike anywhere in Michigan.
Yeah, it's crazy,
And,
isn't it?
and
Yeah.
I would actually only be on a road for about 2 blocks.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's wild. I actually saw one time on the rails, the trails, on the trail going towards Lake Orion.
Yeah.
I actually saw someone riding their horse on it once.
Yeah, horses are allowed there.
Yeah,
The,
isn't that
the
cool?
police will have them there.
No kidding, huh?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that. Yeah, that's super interesting. For people who don't know, you mentioned the OPC, which I think is a huge draw to the population that place serves. Can you explain a little bit about it?
Sure. So the OPC is the Older Person Commission, which actually they are doing a rebranding survey right now, studying whether that's still a relevant name.
Interesting.
So it's very important to our senior community. It provides vital, essential services to our senior community. Meals on Wheels, services like renting, or there's a library to get tools or things you need, or help with Medicare, activities, really the socialization. And if you think about the past 2 years and how hard that has been on our senior community, that center was developed to fill that, to create that socialization. You know, you can play cards, you can play pickleball, you can do all of that. So in the 50 plus community, that's still a young age, 50 plus, that community is so vibrant. And then as people age, those services kick in. And it is a real draw to our area, because it is not just a old place, it's a youngish, vibrant place that really provides services.
Yeah, it's really unique to what I'll call our community, because I didn't grow up in Rochester, but certainly I don't differentiate it in my mind as being much different, right?
Yeah.
And it's my parents, you know, they speak to that, my in-laws speak to it, and what a draw it is and a reason to stick around, because not a lot of communities have those type of things. So I do think that's a differentiator versus communities that don't. You know,
Very
necessarily.
true.
They don't
Very
have
true.
to move away to get, as you progress through life, and you hit those different stages, you don't have to leave the community. The city of Rochester can take you from infancy to, elderly all in one spot, and that's not necessarily true everywhere.
Very true.
And I think that's a big differentiator for sure. Well, any questions I haven't asked you that you wish I did?
Well, I have a little something for you.
You do?
I do. So your office is in a very special building in Rochester. It's called the Chrisman Building.
Yes.
And this is a ornament. This is no longer available. It's out of production. The DDA, the Downtown Development Authority, created these a few years back. And so this is a replica of the building where your office is in, the Chrisman Building.
Oh, no kidding, huh?
And
Wow.
I think you know a little bit about the
I know a little
building,
bit, yeah.
but it's famous because it was constructed back, I believe, in 1901.
Mm-hmm.
And then on a May day in 1992, there was destruction that happened there. There was a gas explosion.
Yeah.
And, they were doing some work there. There was a worker on site. Unfortunately, one of those people who was evacuating people from the building, he passed away there.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
And the owner of the building came walking down Main Street because he got notified about it. And all he saw was the building, except for the very south wall, was destroyed.
Okay.
And there was papers flying everywhere. And what's beautiful about it is it does describe, again, that charm of Rochester, because out of that, the resiliency surfaced. And he contacted Rewald & Sons, developer construction still in the city of Rochester, and said, we need to rebuild this building. And it needs to be rebuilt following the historic
Yeah,
charm.
you wouldn't even know looking at it.
Right, you wouldn't know. It was rebuilt, and I was told in the lobby, right after when they reopened, they had a statue, Phoenix, rising from the ashes.
Oh, no kidding, huh?
So you're in
have
a
to
really,
get a Phoenix.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
that's
do.
cool.
So you're in a really cool building in Rochester, and so I wanted you to have this.
Well, thank you.
And
That is very kind of you. I really do appreciate it.
You're
Thank you very much. This is really cool. Yeah, I think I'll have to share this with John, the owner. He'll like it for sure. Yeah,
Exactly. He is
absolutely.
the owner.
Well, thank you so much. One, for your knowledge and your expertise. 2, for volunteering for the city. And 3, for this. Thank you very much. Well, hopefully you guys got all the ins and outs of Rochester. If you haven't checked out our Rochester video, I would definitely click on that one. We go deeper and we're in the community, spend a lot of time in the park because the park's kind of the central location that everything kind of sprouts from. So Appreciate your time, and subscribe below. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks for watching the video. Subscribe below, like the video, leave a comment, tell us what you liked, tell us maybe what you didn't like, tell me where you want us to go next, and we'll see you next time.